Hi everyone, welcome to my channel and thank you so much for choosing to watch my videos. If you're new here today, my name is Betty and a warm welcome to today's video where we are going to talk about how Americans discipline their children versus how Africans discipline their children. So we are going to talk about parenting, and on this one I am not going to act like a know-it-all, or I'm not going to act like the best parent out there, or I'm not going to act like the perfect parent. I am just going to talk and then we can educate each other and interact and share ideas on this, because the reason why I'm doing this topic is because somebody asked me on the comment section and say, Betty, talk about how Americans discipline their children versus how Africans discipline their children. So guys, one thing I'd like to tell you is for me as an African born and raised in Kenya, one thing I can tell you is when I was growing up, I knew discipline is all about like punishment. When you talk about discipline, for me, how I grew up knowing that when you are talking about discipline, it has to be physical. It has to be like, boom, I will hit you, and so that you stop that, because that's how I was brought up. I was brought up, and for me, I don't put it as abuse because I wasn't abused. All I can say is when I was growing up, if I did something wrong, I would be smacked. Yeah. And I can tell you that if you're American and you're watching this and you've never heard about smacking kids, you go to Africa and it does happen. And one thing I can tell you is, it's not a lot of parents, when they do it, like smack their kids, it's not done like intentional to harm your child. It's like a way of disciplining. And this is how we were raised, knowing that when you're disciplining a child, you have to instill some little pain so that they can learn from that pain and learn that that is not that is not that is not the right thing to do. So we unagonga, chapa, that's the word we so anyway guys, let me tell you one thing. A lot of people, when you talk about discipline, yeah, they always think about, oh, so some sort of, is she talking about some sort of punishment? No, disciplining the child doesn't necessarily mean that you are talking about punishing a child. Think about like being a teacher. You are teaching your child. You are mentoring your child. You are being the role model of that child. You are and then think about the ways, the alternative ways other than the physical. Think about the alternative ways, the positive ways that can change that child, that can teach that child from the thing they have done wrong. And then now you are thinking about, what if I don't smack this child? What if I don't do this? What if I do the other thing? And it's not just the hitting. Some parents do the timeouts. They think, you know what, the timeouts will work. And what I know about the timeouts, it works better with toddlers. Like, for example, my little girl, Naila Kamamu, I do timeouts and she screams like crazy, like she cries, because I would tell her to sit down for, like, you know what, you are throwing this cup at me, sit down here. I just put her on timeout for like a minute. And then she doesn't like that. And because she doesn't like to be put on timeout, she's like, she's gonna scream and yell and everything. And also another thing is, some of the parents, what they do is yell at the kids, like, hey, you yell. And I do yell. Sometimes I find myself yelling. Do I mean to harm my kids? No, I just feel like if I don't yell sometimes and yell on top of my lungs, they're not gonna listen, because you tell them once, stop it, and then you tell them again, stop it, and then you tell them again, please, could you please stop? And then in that time, you're like yelling at them, I said stop. And you know what? This is being real. This is real talk. We do that as parents sometimes. You find yourself, you're yelling because you want them to really stop what they are doing. And so one thing I can say is hitting is not the best alternative when it comes to disciplining your child. You don't have to hit, because even if you hit them, they're not gonna They won't stop whatever. They're not going to learn from the fact that you instilled some pain. They will not do that. They will it's not even going to make anything better when you punish them for something they did. So for me, I always ask myself, does punishment really work? It doesn't, because you know what? When you think about the prisoners out there, the people that are locked up in jail, do they learn from being locked up? Do they? Let me tell you, let me give you an example. If prisoners run out of prison, when they escape the jail, do they go and become better people? Well, maybe some people, they come out of jail and they learn their lesson and they stop doing that. But some of them, even if they're locked up and they escape, or maybe their term expired and it's time for them to go, they go back into crime. They come up with they do another crime, and before you know it, they're locked up again. Why? It's because even being punished, to some children, punishment does not do anything. So punishment does not do anything. And then when you think about our lives, you can ask yourself, did you turn out to be who you were, good, a good parent or a good person or responsible person, because you were beat up, or because you were hit, or because you were punished? You didn't. I think the reason why we turned out good, because I feel like I turned out really good. I turned out well. I turned out responsible. I turned out to be very, very responsible and be well behaved. That's how I feel. And, I thank my parents for that, because no matter the kind of discipline they used, I feel like I turned out because of the love, and of the love the parents give you, the love, being there for your children, reminding them, hey, you know what, guys, I really love you and I adore my kids. It's a lot that we do as parents to show them. So I feel like that is the reason why we turn out good, because of that love, and the parents spending time with you, and the parent being there for you, knowing that I have my, like that. That's why I feel like, hey, that's the reason why we turned out good. Hey, we did turn out good, right? And that's why we are good parents, or we are, I wouldn't say better parents, because I'm not going to say we are perfect or better than our parents, but I would say that's why we turn out like the way we are, good people, good parents. So, and now we are raising our kids, and we get the challenges of, hey, here they are, the kids now, they have more voice than how we are. Because like for me, for how we were. For me, when I was growing up, I didn't have a chance. Sometimes, like you couldn't talk back to the parent, tell the parents, hey, I know. Nowadays, I see my Darren here. He tells me, no, mom, or I know. Back in the day when I was growing up, I couldn't tell my parents, no, mom, or, mom, or argue, trying to raise, or trying to go, not to argue, but trying to say no to the parent. But nowadays we do give our children a chance to air their opinion and say, hey, this is what I think. And sometimes some parents, what they do is they shut them. Can you shut up? I mean, I'm your mom. I know what's best. And sometimes, we find ourselves telling kids, like, if I want something done, if the child tells me, no, I'll do it tomorrow, or can you do your laundry? And the child will be like, no, I'll do it tomorrow. And you're like, no, I need the laundry done now. So you see, it's kind of really tricky and tough on this one. But I just want to say that sometime we can find better alternatives to use other than the punishment. The punishing the children. Punishing the children doesn't mean that when you punish them, you're disciplining. There are ways we can use to, and I'm saying we because I'm including myself in that bracket. There are ways we can use better alternatives than just the punishing. Yeah. So another thing is like some emotional punishments, I can call them that, or emotional punishment. Is it discipline punishment? Like emotionally, sometimes, let me tell you, yes, saying words, like mean words to your children, I find out that not okay. Because when you throw a word like, oh, you're so stupid, you are such a devil, you are a what? And I know sometimes, you get, like, they can really, really make you so mad, and you find yourself saying something. But if you say mean words to the children, that's not good, because you know what, it's really hard for them to forget that my mom said something mean to me. They wouldn't, and especially the kids that we're raising now, it's really hard for them to forget that my mom said something really mean to me. My mom said I'm stupid. My mom said I'm a devil. My mom said I'm calling. And you know what? In this America, I hear some of the parents, even in public, like cursing out to the children. That is me. For me, I feel like cursing out and insulting or throwing those emotional kind of punishment. I don't think it's right. It's not right. So the what I want to say is I am not a perfect parent, but as I said, we learn. And on this video, I want us to think about the alternative ways we can do to when it comes to discipline our children. So in America, they use, I think most of the parents, they use yelling, because I've heard them yell like crazy. And some of the parents are horrible. And when I mean they're horrible, I see them on TV. I see on the news, like a parent did something like terrible to the kids. Abusing their kids, I don't agree to abusing children. If you abuse your children, you don't even deserve them in the first place. And so like sexual abuse, stuff like that, and some parents I hear on the news, they locking up their kids, or time, something really, some strange thing they happen. We watch them in the on the news, or sometimes this internet, social media, we see all this craziness. And that's why I said I cannot compare and say American, the way they discipline their kids, they are better than the Africans, or say Africans are better than the Americans. For me, when I compare both, I always say, you know what? I think it depends with the parent. It's not because of the Americans, because some of the Americans, they can be really mean to their kids, and some of them can be very sweet. Some of the Africans can be really mean to their children, and some of the Africans are really nice. So you can't say that it's the African way or the American way. But all we see, when we see on the media, we see like the Americans, usually they like to be like, oh, really soft to their kids, while the Africans, we are tough. We want to, hey, I want to be heard. When I talk to you, Darren, can you listen, because I'm your mother? That is how we see it, like when we are watching the movies and stuff. But then the American, you'll be like, hey, I'm Darren, it's time to do your homework. Okay, can you do your homework now? So that's the American way, right? But the African way will be like, Darren, can you do your homework? If you don't do that homework, I'm gonna something, And yeah, because as Africans, we want to be heard. We want you to, can you stop this nonsense? I think life has really toughened us, like that. That's how I can put it. But you know what? That doesn't mean the African parents are bad. It's just that maybe the words we use, or maybe the approach, or I don't know what to call it, because you know what, this parenting topic is. It's hard. It is hard. Even me as a mother, and that's why I don't point fingers to parents, by the way. I don't say, oh, those kids, they turned out bad because their mom was like this. It is so wrong to point fingers on parents. And I can tell you that. Yeah. Anyway, let me give you, because I know most of the people who are watching me, they are Africans here. Let me give you some of the things the Americans use. And for me, when I was in Africa, I didn't know these things. Like, and as I said, timeouts. When I was back home, I didn't know anything about timeouts. Like, you can put your child on timeout, like sit them in a naughty corner for a few minutes and say, hey, you're gonna sit there because you did something wrong. Another thing the Americans will do is, hey, you have done something wrong. I will take your computer away from you. And because you've done something wrong. So I'll take my gadgets. And I use that. When my kids, like now, if my kids, like Darren, if I keep talking to him, he's not listening, or he did something wrong, I will take his favorite thing. And that will make him feel bad. Yeah? So taking the gadgets away and sometimes sending them to their room and saying, hey, you did, that's the American way. Hey, and by the way, when I say American way, when we come here, even as Africans, we come and get into this culture and, you know, like do the things the American way. And also sending kids to their room and say, hey, you did something wrong. You're going to have to go back to your room because you did something wrong. These are the kind of stuff, these are the kind of punishments the Americans, not punishment, the discipline, the American, these are some of the way. And also talking to the kids, they'll sit them down, have a conversation and say, hey, you did something wrong, you did this, and these are the consequences. I find some of the Americans, they talk with your kids. And I do that too. I talk with my children. I sit them down and say, hey, yeah. So those are the differences. Well, for me personally, when I was back, I don't know whether that happens now. Like in Africa, parents will sit their kids down and talk to them and say, if you do something wrong, these are the consequences, and this and this and this and this. Then the parents will be like, I'll take your gadgets away from you. And then the parents will say, I'll sit in a naughty corner. I think we have a shortcut. We have a shortcut for all this as Africans, I guess. But the thing is, when you come to the US, for me, I think US has taught me a lot. It has taught me a lot of things. And that's why I said alternative ways of disciplining kids. It's one of the things that this country has taught me as well. And I don't have to hit. I don't have to hit. I don't have to yell. I can just say, hey, you are doing this and these are the consequences. Because you have been so naughty, you're not gonna get something for Christmas. So I will have to have my child earn his gift. Like sometimes even in this country, I see them using rewards, like if you do something right, if you keep doing something right, or if you get better grades, I will reward you. Reward is also a very good thing. Like for Darren, if he's not doing good at school, I sometimes say, hey Darren, because the teacher said you're not listening to the teacher, or you're doing something wrong at school. Instead of using a negative way of disciplining him, the other alternative, the positive way, I'll say, hey, you know what, Darren, if you give me good grades, if you get some good grades, or if you listen to your teacher, then you will earn a reward. You will get a reward. And sometimes the reward system is very tricky, because how long are you going to promise them things? How long? And we want the kids we want to teach them, for them to be independent. We want to teach them so that they can learn from their mistakes. They can learn from doing right to doing wrong to doing right, stuff like that. So yeah, the American way, most of the time, you will find it's more of talking and rewards and timeouts and stuff like that, and yelling and stuff. While the African way mostly is tachapa, like tachapa. And I think that's the main difference. But other than that, I can say, hey, we are Africans, and yeah, we have our cultures. We have the way we raise our kids, and we have the way we handle things. And maybe it might be different, because these cultures will never be the same. The American culture is not the same as the African culture. And but we all learn. The best thing to do is to pick something good from this culture and say, hey, the American culture, I think it's like, for me, when it comes to disciplining kids, I watch a lot of videos and I see the alternative I can use. Because one thing, and I was watching this guy and he said, before you think about punishing your child, think about what this child did something wrong, but what have I done? Instead of punishing him, what have I done to make this not to happen again? What have I done to make this child learn that there are consequences for doing this thing, for doing wrong? What have I done to teach them? Instead of punishing, can I teach? Instead of yelling, which I'm gonna waste my time anyway yelling, Can I just calm down and wait when I'm calm down and then teach them and say, hey guys, can you listen? This is this and this. Instead of yelling at my child because he got bad grades at school, can I just teach them and say, hey, if you get bad grades, this is what will happen. You're not going to be able to join the university. You're not going to be able to, you need to work hard. You need to put more effort. And then if he's trying, can I put him into like maybe summer school? Can I get him more extra tuition? What are we doing as parents to make the situation better than punishing? That's what we should be asking ourselves. And I ask myself the same question because sometimes I'm really mad at my kids, and especially my toddler. Darren is very reserved. He's very quiet. So Darren is the kind of child that it would take Darren so long to do something. Of course he does. He's a boy. He's still young. But Darren is really more reserved. But most of the time with Darren, he loves playing a lot. And sometimes he will play with the kids, the neighbor kids, and especially what happens is Darren sometimes he will go, forget that he's supposed to come home. He will overstay. He will even go to somebody's house and to his friend's house and stay for so long, and I'll be worried. In fact, there was a time I was looking for this boy for hours. I was just worried about where is my child. And do you know how I looked so irresponsible? Because I left, he was like, Mom, can I play outside with my friends? And I say, yes, you can play. Guess what? I say, yes, I can play. But yes, you can play. But after 4, 5 hours, 6 hours, Darren had not come home. And I always tell him, Darren, you need to come and at least check in, tell me you're fine, wherever you are. Even if you're not outside by there, just come and say you're okay. But guess what? Darren did not show up for so many hours, and I was so worried. I started looking for him. I was just knocking. I knocked on my neighbor's door, and he looked at me like, huh? I knocked at the friends that I know he has, and he wasn't there. Guess what? He found this friend, and they became friends, and he went into their house, and they started playing video games. And this parent did not ask Darren for all these hours, did not ask Darren, hey, have you reported that you're here? This parent was okay. They were having popcorns, they were having a blast. So for me, I felt like if I see somebody's child in my house, I always ask them, does your mom know you are here? Does your father know you are here? Does your parent know you are here? Because I don't want kids in my house and their parents don't know. If they tell me no, I will say, hey, go tell your mom that you're here. Because I want, So, and that's why we say in Africa, it takes a community to raise a child. I don't know about the American, if that applies to them. And that's why I said everybody has their own cultures. So for me as an African mom, I will be like, hey, can you go tell your parent that you're here? Because I don't want you to spend the whole day in my house and your mom doesn't know. And also for me, one thing I don't like, and I really discourage my kids, it's sleepovers. Because of my own personal reasons, I really don't care for sleepovers that much. I know my son loves sleepovers, but I'm really careful about sleepovers. And people should think about the sleepovers because it depends where your kid is sleeping over. You have to know these parents really well. You have to know this child behavior before you send your kid to sleep over. It's not every friend that your child makes that you feel comfortable. Oh, those are friends, go sleep over. No, this is where the kids, they get all these bad behaviors. They bring them home. And then you don't know how to deal with these bad behaviors, yeah? So, yeah, this is what happens. And I'm telling you guys, it's tricky, parenting. All I can tell you, the tips I can tell you is, whether you are American or African, go on your knees. Go on your knees and ask God for wisdom, because it takes God's grace. It takes God's wisdom, God to give us wisdom and to help us know what are the ways or better ways of raising these kids. Because everybody has their own experience depending on how their kids are. So one thing might not help the other parent, and the other parent, one thing might not work for the other parent, and the other parent might not work for, something like that. Whatever works for you might not work for me. Whatever works for your kids might not work for my kids. So it's all different. But with everybody's idea, when you pick and choose, you can pick the positive positive ways of disciplining your kids. And yeah, what I can tell you, and especially our African people, hitting is not the solution. Even if you hit a child or spank a child, that's not the solution to all this. And don't be fooled. Like I know here in the US, we, they tell us, when you hit a child, you can go to jail or you can do this. But all I can tell you is know your children, know the ways of disciplining your children, because you don't know. Even those Americans, I've heard of Americans, some of Americans say they spank their kids. Yes, I have heard a lot of Americans, they say that, oh yeah, if you do something wrong, I'll spank you. But one thing I will say, and I'm really against, is if anybody is doing something to abuse their children, that's not acceptable. So we need to rethink and come up with strategies that can make them learn, instead of instilling fear in them, instead of making them that their voices are not heard, instead of making them be scared of us. We just come up with ways of, you know what? I learned something from my mom. I learned something from my dad. I learned. Oh my goodness, somebody came out there with some music, and I hope it's not gonna so anyway, so guys, thank you so much for listening to me. We pray and believe that we every day we become better parents, because no parent is perfect. And another thing I would like to mention out there is comparing your child to comparing your children. Don't compare your kids. Your kids are your kids, and your kids are the way they are. Don't compare them with your neighbor's kids or your friend's kids. And sometimes as parents, we do that. We like to compare our children and come up with ways of, hey, you cannot be like so-and-so kids. Those kids are better. Those kids are so smart. Those kids are really, really, they're so educated. Those kids are polite. Those kids, we come up with all these words to tell our kids, like trying to compare them. And I've done that myself. I've compared Nyla with my friend's kid, because Nyla at 2 years old, she cannot talk yet. She says a few words. She can say words, but she doesn't know how to come up with a sentence. And one thing I would say is, yeah, that's comparing. And another parent say, Betty, don't compare your kid to the other kid. Every child has their own milestone. And so it's education wise. Every child is different. Your kid might be getting honor roll, and the other kid, if your kids get honor roll and the other kids doesn't get honor roll, we shouldn't compare them. Every kid is blessed, and every child is blessed in their own different way. We are all different in life, and we cannot say that you have to be like so and so kids. You have to be like so-and-so kids. It just makes your kid feel like they are not worthy, or they're useless, or they're stupid in some way. Yeah, so let's give them a lot of, love them, treat them with tenderness and love and care for them, because they are our blessings. I can tell you that for sure. And teaching them right from wrong. Yeah, we always have to keep doing that, because that is why God gave us those children, to teach them right from wrong, and to behave themselves, to teach them to behave themselves. Even when they are by themselves, even when they are alone, that they can still behave themselves. Even when they are walking on the road to school, on their way to school, they can behave themselves. Teach them to be independent. Yeah. And also teach them the consequences of doing wrong. Like, hey, if you keep doing this, there are consequences. Even when you grow up, if you get into this, if you get into drugs, there are consequences. If you become alcoholic, there are consequences. If you become irresponsible, there are consequences. Teach them the consequences. Also teach them to communicate. We communicate to our children, and teach them to be able to communicate to other people as well. And by communicating to our children, we should talk to them and tell them, hey, the way things are. Communicate, talk to them, and listen to them as well. Also, as parents, I apologize to my kids. When I do something wrong, I say, hey, Darren, I'm sorry, I did something wrong to you. I love to apologize, and they apologize. That way they'll be comfortable apologizing to me too. I teach apologizing. You apologize, I apologize. You know what? We are all human. And yeah. And another thing is, what could have been done better. So when a child does something wrong, to teach them, hey, what could you have done better than what you have done right now? So anyway, guys, I hope you like this video, and I hope I have explained well. And that's why I said I am not able to really compare so much African and African or American way of disciplining. All I can say is may God help us to become better parents every day, and to learn and to teach, to raise our kids according to the will of the Lord. The number one thing I'll tell you is always teach your children according to the ways of the Lord, so that even if they go astray, they know mom taught me the ways of the Lord. Mom taught me to go to church. Mom taught me doing wrong is wrong. Mom taught me not to steal. Mom taught me not to lie. Mom taught me the consequences. So even if they go against that, if they go away from that, they will always remember that mom told me that this is wrong. Mom taught me. It's just that I didn't listen, but mom told me. Yeah? Or dad told me. So let's do our part and leave the rest to God. And that's why I said the battlefield for us parents is on our knees. We go on our knees. That is where we will be fighting for our children and praying so that God can help them. Even if we are disciplining them, but the most important is to pray. Pray over our children. Even when they go to school, they will hear a lot of things. They will learn a lot of things from their friends. They will watch a lot of things on their gadgets. But may God help our children to choose and to know right from wrong, to choose the positive things so that they can excel in life. They can thrive in life, you know. And may God bless you, my friends. And I pray we become better parents. If I know we are good parents, but we pray we learn, we keep learning every day, and we pray for our children. I pray for all our children. May God help them to become better and better and better people, and to thrive in life, to excel in life. Guess what? Our children are blessed. Our children are not cursed. Our children will not carry generational curses. Our children will not be the tail. They will always be the leaders of this world. Our children are kings and queens. Our children will be favored wherever they go. Our children will be loved by men and by God and by men. Our children will become, they will become, what do I call, anything good, blessings. And that is why I love that song that is called, it's called The Blessings. If you look it up, The Blessings on YouTube, you will see it. And it says, and may the Lord bless